guys, this is Maria and this is Apollo, and welcome to another video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I thought that I would do another top 5. For today, it's going to be the top 5 kinds of people that should not have birds. Because I know I have mentioned this on my channel before, but birds are not the easiest pet, and they are not for many people. Not at all. I was actually watching a lot of bird tricks lately, and she was saying how if she can persuade at least one person who thought that they would get a bird not to get a bird because they thought long and hard and realized that birds as pets were not for them, then she would have been doing her job. And that is how I'm feeling at the moment. Birds are the 3rd most common pet that people have, and yet they are rehomed a lot. A lot of them end up in shelters, and a lot of them end up just being given up.
So sad.
Because birds are definitely a lifetime commitment, and they are not easy to keep as pets. Not at all. Let me just begin by saying that birds are wild animals. They have not been domesticated, so they require a lot more work, a lot more time in order to become tamed and sweet and cuddly and all those fun things that we all want from a pet. Also, if the lighting is a little bit weird, it's because I'm filming my first late night video in a while.
Bummer.
So I had to make do with what I had, and I tried my best to make the lighting as good as possible, but it's definitely not as good as daytime lighting. So it's just how it's gonna be for today. So let's get into the video. So when talking about the 5 types of people that should not get a bird or should not have birds, the first kind of person would be somebody who is not patient. Patience is the #1 quality I found that is needed when you get a bird as a pet. And patience is actually something that I have struggled with my whole entire life.
Okay, I admit it.
Because I have never been patient. I don't like being patient, but I have definitely had to learn the hard way. You know, after I got birds and realized that, you have to train them, and it takes them a while to warm up to you, and you have to gain their trust, and if you lose their trust, you have to gain it all over again, and it's just a long process, one in which you can't give up. So you definitely need a lot of perseverance and patience if you have a pet bird. Unlike dogs or some cats, I suppose, who warm up to you right away, or it doesn't take them long to warm up to you at all, birds take a lot longer. And you have to make sure to maintain that bond that you build with them, and it's like socialize them and let them out of their cage, and also train them to mentally stimulate them so that their life is fun and interesting, and they form an even greater bond with you. But if you don't do those things even for one day, that could definitely set you back when it comes to bonding with your bird.
We've circled right back to where we started.
So that is something that is really important to upkeep when having a bird as a pet. For me, I have actually found that the amount of patience that is required to build that bond with your bird and that trust is really worthwhile and rewarding in the end. So for me, it's something that I actually prefer as opposed to a dog who, you know, is happy to see you right away. They love you, they're devoted to you, they trust you unconditionally. For me, a bird, it's just more rewarding and more worthwhile, which is why I prefer birds as pets. But that is not a lot of people, and that is, you know, just my preference. And maybe a few other people's preference, but definitely not the majority of people's.
That's a fact, that's a fact, and that's a fact.
So moving on, the second kind of person that should not have a bird is a person whose life situation is likely to change, or a person who is not settled in life. So this could be anybody like a student who is still finishing school, or, you know, a high school student who is going to go away to school, and then, you know, who's going to take care of that bird? Because a lot of times you're not going to take it to school with you. I'm sure that some kids or some teenagers do take their birds to school, but then you also have to consider the fact that a lot of birds are loud. The majority of birds are loud, actually.
Please stop. You're so loud.
And if you're going to be living in a dorm or an apartment or, you know, on-campus school housing, you have to remember that you might have neighbors who are not going to appreciate, you know, if you have a loud bird in your apartment. So that is definitely something to think really long and hard about. If you're young and you're not done with school and you're not settled and you want to get a bird, maybe wait, and, you know, when your life is fully settled, when you're settled into your life, you have a stable job, a stable home, a stable relationship, whatever, and your life situation is not likely to change, then maybe think about getting a bird. But maybe don't get a bird if you're not sure where you're going to be next year or next week, or if something's going to change and you're going to have to change your whole life along with it. Guys, let's be honest.
I think it's confession time.
My husband and I, we don't really go on vacations. And I know that a lot of families love to go on long vacations. I mean, even a week away is impossible to really go on vacation if you have a bird or birds. So definitely, even if you're planning on going on long vacations, you have to consider where you're going to leave the bird. Are you going to board the bird? And, you know, if you do that, they don't really let them out of their cage at all. Are you going to have somebody come and take care of your bird? What if that person is not a bird person and they don't know a lot of things that go into taking care of a bird? Because it's definitely not like pet sitting a dog, for example, which is a lot more simpler. With a bird, it's a lot more difficult, a lot more complicated, and there are a lot more nuances to it.
Indeed.
Personally, for us, having birds as pets was not even feasible before, you know, we got a big house. Mike got a stable job where, you know, we could be financially stable and make sure we can provide for these expensive pets that are definitely very expensive to keep. And I could definitely not even imagine doing it on my own, because my husband helps immensely with cleaning and taking care of these beautiful creatures. And by myself, there's just not enough hours in the day to do all the things required that go into taking care of a bird, like cleaning their cages, taking them out of their cage, training them, playing with them, bonding with them. It's really like a full-time job. And this being a stay-at-home mom and a stay-at-home bird mom is really my full-time job. Literally. I love it. That's what my job is. And it's one that I really love, and I'm really grateful that I get to film these videos and I get to have these beautiful birds in my house, and I get to spread my love for them and, you know, spread the knowledge that goes into keeping them, you know, to all of you guys. So definitely something that is very time consuming and exhausting, and something that you need to really be stable in your life in order to be able to have birds as pets. Right, buddy? Right, buddy? What kind of people do you think should not have birds as pets, huh? Huh, Apollo? You want to volunteer? Isn't he so cute? Just can't get over how cute you are. Look at him poofing up.
So fluffy, I'm gonna die!
Are you excited? You excited? Are you camera shy? You're so cute, buddy. Thank you for joining me. I know it's late. The third kind of person who should not be having a bird in their house as a pet are people who are not financially stable. I know that I touched upon this in one of the previous things that I talked about, but having birds comes with a lot of expenses. I mean, you know, from vet bills to toys that, because of their huge beaks, they tear up so quickly, and, you know, you go through them weekly. You could give, you know, even Apollo, or, you know, big birds or smaller birds even, you could give them a huge toy and they will literally go through that toy in less than a week. In a few days sometimes.
That is insane.
Those toys are already all torn up into like little scraps, and, you know, everywhere. They're everywhere on the floor of the cage, on the floor that is outside of the cage. So definitely toys are expensive. And they're even more expensive, you know, for good quality for birds. Also, just getting a bird, purchasing a bird initially is expensive. I was at a pet store today, Petland, actually, in Bolingbrook. And, you know, they have a bunch of birds, smaller birds. And I would say that the average price for like a Quaker or an Indian ringneck was $2,000 and up. So even in pet stores, birds are really expensive. And the bigger the bird, the higher, you know, you go up, as opposed to how big the bird is, like, you know, a macaw, or, you know, a blue and gold macaw like Bailey, and you're looking at a small fortune that you're going to spend on that bird.
Totally worth it. That was one good minute.
And that's just initially. After that, you have to purchase their food, a lot of fruit and vegetables, because they need to have chop every single day, and, you know, really good quality pellets, because that's really important. You don't want to keep them on a seed diet. And then also their cage, the bigger the better, and those cages are huge and expensive, really expensive, like $1,000 and up for bigger birds. So it requires a lot of money in order to keep a bird in your house happy and healthy. And, you know, I'm not even talking about vet bills. Avian vets are a lot more in demand because there's a lot less of them, and they charge a lot more than, let's say, if you go to a dog veterinarian or a cat one, or somebody who is more familiar with the more common pets such as dogs and cats, because bird pets are there's a lot less veterinarians that garner just to birds. So the fourth kind of person that should definitely not even consider getting a bird is somebody who wants to do as little work as possible when taking care of a pet. Birds are not a pet that you're going to purchase and then keep them in their cage all their lives, because that's just neglect and that's abuse, and that is not something that birds should be put through. Birds need to be let out, taken out of their cage, mentally stimulated by training them, socializing them, maybe even taking them out with you places. Birds are companions. They are not just pets to keep at home and just see them at home from time to time. They are, or they should be, a permanent part of your family, like a family member. And definitely not a pet that you want to put as little work as possible into caring for. Because if you put in as little work as possible, your bird will not be happy, they will not be healthy, and they will be even more destructive than if you do all the things necessary to keep them healthy and thriving, which is what you should want to do if you're getting a pet. You should not get a pet if you are not going to try to provide the best life possible for that pet.
Duh.
No matter what kind of pet you get. I've had hamsters in the past. I've had ferrets. I've had guinea pigs. I actually have 2 dogs right now. I have not had a cat because I'm allergic to cats. That's the only reason why I haven't had a cat before. But by far, out of all the pets that I have had, birds have been the hardest and the most time consuming and the most amount of work to care for them. Even cleaning their cage a few times a week is like a 3+ hour ordeal because they're messy and it takes a while to clean their cage thoroughly and to disinfect it and to put new paper in it and also to change out their food and water bowls every single day. And we're not even talking about socializing with your bird and training them and all the other things that we're not even talking about cleaning or maintaining cleanliness, which is really important to birds because they are prone to respiratory problems with their breathing, and also humidifiers are required around them and just clean air, and they are just a pet that really needs cleanliness.
It is essential.
And finally, the 5th kind of person who should not be getting a bird as a pet is somebody who can't commit to care for that bird for a lifetime, because birds, they live a really long time, a lot longer than a lot of other pets like cats and dogs. And that person who's not willing to give them a forever family and who are going to give them up at the first thing in their life that changes. And because they're not thinking about the bird as a permanent member in their life. And they're not going to try to do whatever they can to make it work and to keep that bird, and not to just give them up at the first sign of something changing. This is probably the most important one because literally when going into getting a bird, you have to realize that it's probably for the rest of your life. At least the bigger birds, maybe the budgies live less, but when you're going anywhere from conures to macaws to cockatoos, they live a long time. And when you're considering getting a bird, that is probably the first thing you should really think about. Are you going to be able to stick around for this bird and provide for this bird for the rest of your life?
Think about it, Bolt.
And even, beyond your life, because this bird may outlive you. Like, you might need to put this bird into your will or set something up for, in case something happens to you and there's nobody else to care for the bird, because you definitely want to give them the best life possible, even beyond if something happens to you and you can't. So that is probably the most important thing that you should consider, because it's not just like a decision that you should make on a whim and, like a 5-second decision and done. It's something you really need to think long and hard before you venture there, because it's rewarding, but it's a lot of work and it's a huge commitment huge. I mean, I would know. I have 9 birds now, but it was definitely something that I really had to wrap my mind around. You know, having these birds for potentially the rest of my life, hopefully, you know, because I all want them all to live long and healthy and happy lives. So definitely very important. So that is my list of 5 kinds of people who should not get birds as pets.
Almost there.
Obviously, there's probably ones that I haven't mentioned that are important also to think about, and, you know, that are important for the kinds of people that should not be getting birds. But these are just the ones that I came up with at short notice. And as I've said before, if I can at least persuade somebody to think long and hard before committing to a bird, then I would have done my job. And if somebody comes and says, I don't think a bird is for me to keep as a pet, and I will stick with a more common pet like a dog or cat, I would have also been doing my job, because my whole goal of this channel is to spread awareness and to make sure that people realize just how much goes into caring for these magnificent creatures. Just because they look cool and they're beautiful and they're mesmerizing. I mean, look at this guy. Look at this guy's tired. I'm so sorry, bud. But, you know, that is beside the point. Just because they're beautiful does not mean that they're not hard work and a lot of work. And, you know, looks in terms of how cool a pet is or how cool a pet looks should not be a factor in determining if you want that animal as a pet. I mean, so many times I have heard about people who just get big, beautiful birds like macaws, you know, because they want to just have them as display things, just to put them in cages, never take them out, and, you know, just have them there for display purposes and decoration purposes. And that's just ridiculous and totally neglectful and downright abusive.
I am not horsing around, okay?
So definitely birds are a lot more than that, and they deserve a lot better and a lot better care. And if I can communicate to at least one person just how difficult having and caring for a bird is, then, you know, that is really what I came here to do, why I do this channel and why I make these videos, and why this whole bringing awareness to birds is really important for me and is really close to my heart, because birds are definitely number one for me, but they are not for many people. Not many people at all. And I definitely realize that sometimes things happen, things that we can't foresee, like a bird's owner dies, or, you know, somebody in the family becomes allergic, or something like that that we don't have control over. Even those things, we need to think long term, and we need to think, like, before getting a bird, what if? What if? What if I pass away? Who will take care of my bird then? What if, you know, somebody in the house is allergic? Maybe, you know, you can go and work with a bird before actually buying a bird and bringing them home to make sure that that's not the case and that you won't have to give the bird up. So really, my point is, if you're considering getting a bird, please, please, please,
I'm begging, at some point.
think of it as a lifetime commitment. Like something that you're going to have for the rest of your life, and that you're going to be committed to taking care of for the rest of your life, and even beyond your life. As I've said, you know, birds might outlive you. You don't know, so who's going to take care of them then? Your children? Just something to really think long and hard about before bringing a bird home. And that's going to do it for us for today, guys. It's a late night video today, but I still enjoyed filming it, and I love making these videos. And if you guys found this video helpful in any kind of way, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, comment. You know, comment and maybe write something or a quality of another kind of person who should not have a bird as a pet. Maybe write that in the description below if you can think of something else, because this is definitely not a conclusive list. It's just some stuff that I thought of, but there's definitely a lot more that I have not mentioned here. And I hope that I see you guys in my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Right, Apollo? Say bye. Bye, guys.